So, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that I've worked as a consultant for many years and worked for some of the largest companies. So, let me put on that hat for a moment and try to see how I would approach this problem as a consultant. But rather than talking about Pakistan in particular, let's just take a generic approach. How would we solve the problem when we approach a company, when you're trying to identify what the challenges are, how you would solve them? How would you go about the whole exercise? So here's a very quick primer, quick overview on how the consultants would do it. And so here's, of course, the professional approach. So of course, we start off by looking at the big picture. We look at a very high level about the company, what domain they are in, what market they're in, how they're operating, what products they have, what services they offer, who are the clients at a very high level. We try to get a picture of the company, their past, the recent history, what challenges they are facing, the competitive marketplace. We take a detailed look at that. Again, big picture view without going deeper into specific areas. And then we perform the SWOT analysis, which stands for we identify the strengths of the company, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and um, the threats or challenges that they're facing right now. This is a very standard consulting practice, the SWOT analysis. Before we get into any situation, we really want to know what are the strengths, what are the areas where they're really good at, so we can depend upon them, we can bank upon those areas to continue to flourish and continue to work well. What are the weaknesses? So those are the areas where we really have to be careful about how we navigate. Opportunities, again, what are the low-hanging fruits or some of the bigger things which are ahead of them that if they try to pursue those and if they're successful, then again, sky's the limit. And again, similarly, for challenges they are facing. And then we try to identify the areas that we need to focus on. So, of course, if we are consultants, we are there primarily to solve a few problems. So now we start looking at the problems themselves, and for those problems, we try to take a deep dive, try to understand what the problem is, and not just at the surface level. We go deeper into trying to figure out the intricacies of it. What are the challenges? Is it quality? Is it design? Is it communication? Is it integration? Is it the user acceptance? Or it could be a million different reasons, the factors that could be causing the failures. So we try to understand what the challenges are. And then, sorry about that. And then we see how all the modules are related with each other. So again, this could be an area where there could be another module which is semi-related to the problem at hand, but we cannot solve the problem without looking at the module or the integration points as well. So again, we take a detailed look at that also. And then let's continue. And then we brainstorm on the possible solutions. So once we have identified what problems we are trying to solve, once we know what our charter is, we then try to brainstorm through every possible solution out there, valid, invalid, feasible, and not feasible, everything. We make a large list. The key of this exercise is we don't filter based on the workability or the or how easy it is or how difficult it is. Do we have the resources or do we not have the resources? So this is an area where without any filters, we just have to just put everything out there and create a long list. And once we have a list, then of course we review it carefully again as a team. We look at the workable solutions out of those, try to see which ones of them are aligned with the objective, and then we prioritize them. And prioritization doesn't have to be necessarily based on most important on top and least important at the bottom. Prioritization is also a function of the resources required for us to perform that particular function. And it could be maybe a low hanging fruit. We might want to make it on top of the list because for a very small effort, there could be huge results. So again, we factor that in also. So the net of this is you now have a prioritized list. And then we try to come up with a master plan, which is a detailed plan, the whole execution plan. And then of course, we must get buy-ins from all the parties, from all the stakeholders. And once we've got the plan, once we know what we're setting out to do, once we've got a buy-in from everybody else, then we find the resources. And then once you start off, and I think we mentioned this in an earlier presentation as well, that you cannot set off on in any direction without knowing exactly what your goal is. You have to identify the goal. Everybody has to sign off on the goal. So the definition has got to be very precisely provided to everyone. So again, for every step, we define the goal, and not just a major goal, but the sub goals for every individual milestone as well. And once we have got it all, once all the ducks are lined, then we start the whole implementation process. And then during the implementation, it could be a long, stretched out, elongated process. So there's periodic reviews, obviously, to see how we are doing, how we are comparing against the original objective that we had. Are we still on the roadmap? Are we deviating from that? If we are deviating, why is it? Has something changed? Has the business changed? Has the marketplace changed? Have the facts on the ground changed? If there is a change, then maybe we apply some rules for course correction. So again, this is a time when just because we set out to achieve something and that was the goal at the beginning of the process, and now we could be weeks or months in the middle of the process, and now something has changed. We cannot just blindly go by the initial objective. We should be ready. We should be flexible enough to apply the very basic principles of course correction to put us back on the track. And then finally, as we achieve the results, we publish them. We publish the success, obviously. We update all the stakeholders. We put all the metrics just to make sure that we continue to stay on track and we continue to measure all the goals that we have achieved. So this is how the consultants do it. Very professional approach, very methodical approach. As you can see here, this is a process that has been defined and refined over several decades, and it works. No matter which problem, no matter what you're trying to achieve, no matter how good the company is or how bad the company is, no matter what environment you are inheriting, the net result would be a function, would be a subset of these 13 steps. So the question is, do we ever walk away? Do we ever get into a situation where we are saying, you know what, this is just too hard for us to do it? We just will not be able to. And just at the onset, we said, forget it, we are moving on. We don't do that. As consultants, no matter how difficult it is, how bad a hand you're dealing with, we try to play the hand. We try to do the best that we can in the circumstances, and we just go about one thing at a time, one step at a time. So, if that's how the consultants would do it for any company, then can we, all of us together, combine collectively, take a similar approach for Pakistan? Is what I would like all of us to think about.